Guys, so I made it back finally from Alicante to Germany. I'm in a small town right now, Neuburg-an-der-Donau. So let me go to my favorite spot here and maybe show you a little bit of Neuburg, that little town here, and then see you again. Bye bye. So here I'm at my little green spot in Neuburg, in the back, once again the castle. It's quite pretty here, really quiet but pretty nonetheless. So let me see, now you can see me properly, I hope, and the castle as well, the most important thing. So yeah, one topic that comes up a lot and people ask me about it is I felt sick, what kind of yoga should I do? Can I do yoga or should I just rest? And the short answer is, can I do yoga? Yes, but. Okay, let me elaborate. So, first of all, I believe for some people sickness comes as an excuse to just not do anything and just relax, rest and kind of be the victim and wait for people and life to take care of them. And I think that's a very bad mindset, because then you teach yourself also that there's a certain inherent benefit of falling sick, because then people care about you and you're in the middle, you're in the center of the universe. That's at least what you were trained as a child. Whenever you felt sick, probably parents, they did everything and anything for you, and it felt good. And I think still many people, when they become adults, they still have that same mindset. But anyways, so that's one part. So make sure to not fall into that victim mindset and still take responsibility for yourself. And yes, you're sick, yes, you aren't as capable as you normally, but still make the best out of it. It gives you much more freedom and power to act. And secondly, now that I told you, yes, you can do yoga, but the doctor told you don't do any sports and don't exhaust yourself, because that could lead to some cardiac damage, for example. And yes, of course, it's a very important point that medicine is making right here, because you definitely shouldn't push your heart rate when you're sick, especially when you caught a cold. So in general, for this whole topic of should I do yoga when I got a cold, you should consult a doctor. And anything I'm saying here is not a medical advice. I'm just sharing my personal experience of what I've been doing for many years now, be it sports or be it yoga. So I would say I've over a decade of experience with this approach. But I'm just gonna focus on yoga right now. So, this is not a medical advice, it's just my personal sharing. Go consult a doctor, don't believe my, my personal experience, but maybe you can still benefit from them. And I believe you will. First of all, just because you're sick, just because I'm sick, doesn't stop me from doing yoga in specific. Actually, it doesn't really stop me either from sports. Just like when I'm really sick, I make a break because I can't perform either. But If I'm moderately sick, if I'm feeling well again, if I just feel the symptoms, I might definitely do some very short time but high intensity type of sport activity, which does not push my heart rate. So that's what I'm always taking care of. I don't want to push my heart rate too much. But for example, lifting heavy weights, but not lifting lots of weights, just heavy, but keeping the volume low, would be something which I personally would do. But of course I don't recommend you doing it. You consult a doctor. Now regarding yoga. It's actually much easier than sports. In yoga you should choose according to how you feel and according to what type of yoga you want to do. If you are into something like hot yoga, power yoga, Ashtanga yoga, which is extremely stressful on the physical body, then I would say make a break. But if you're doing some kind of more moderate yoga, like I'm teaching you the Surya Kriya, which is basically a very meditative form of the Surya Namaskar. So one cycle will take you naturally about 20 minutes. It incorporates a certain way of breathing, a certain way of visualizing, which makes it very meditative. I would say, for me personally, I'm always doing that. Even if I feel actually, I'm kind of personally, I'm kind of brutal about that. Because what I personally realized, and I noticed this like actually in the last 3 days now, especially like 2 days ago, I was waking up in the morning and like my limbs were so heavy I couldn't even get out of bed. I was like, I felt like I just wanna stay there and like be in my own grave until Earth eats me up. I was really destroyed. But I knew, okay, if I get out of bed, if I take a shower, if I go on the yoga mat, the first 30 minutes or the first 20 minutes are gonna be really tough, and afterwards I'm gonna feel great. And exactly that's what's happening all the time. I have to use some willpower in the beginning, and after that's done, it's actually quite easy for me. So then kind of the benefits from the yoga practice, they kick in. And I just feel energetic, my mind becomes clear again. And I'm also just like, I'm set up for the whole day. So on that specific day, 2 days ago, I did my morning practice. I did like an hour of the Surya Kriya. I extended it a bit. So my mind cleared up at that time, I was feeling good. And because my mind cleared up, I was also capable to do some more meditative breathing techniques, which otherwise it could not have been done, because with a completely blocked and fogged up mind, for me it's impossible to sit without falling asleep, or to sit without at least daydreaming everything off. So that was my approach. For example, it worked for me 3 days ago. Did an hour of very mild physical yoga, which didn't drive my heart rate up, which might be different for you, so you have to gauge yourself. And then I did some pranayama, or breathing techniques. And afterwards I was set up, I could work the whole day and just feel good about myself, and I didn't feel sick. I had the symptoms, I was coughing, my lymph nodes were swollen and so on and so forth, but still I felt good about myself. And if you're feeling good, then sickness is not really an issue anymore. You can still live everything normally as it would be if you weren't sick, for example. So that's just a huge benefit on your life quality. You just have to invest like 20 minutes of willpower in the morning until the effects of yoga kick in. That's my experience. Now say I practice like Yogasanas. Then you have to differentiate a bit, because for some people, including me in the beginning, Yogasanas was very stressful. And my heart rate would actually go up a bit. Now it doesn't really do that anymore, because I'm just improved a bit. So even 2 days ago I did 2 hours of Yogasana straight, and I couldn't do it the way I used to do, and I had to have some rest periods in between. But still afterwards I felt great. Like the day was set up, I was really feeling good about myself. And 2 hours of physical yoga, I definitely wouldn't recommend it to anybody, like just about anybody. For me personally, I've always been gauging on how my body feels and then deciding accordingly. But I was always sure to not push towards a point where I felt like, okay, now my heart is really pumping, or where I would move beyond a point of comfort. And this approach has always worked for me. When I was in the ashram in India doing the teacher training, at one time I was actually really sick. Like, it's funny, like when you get sick in India, like it's not sickness like here. Like when you get sick in India, you're destroyed. Like those tropical super bacteria, they are just eating up your body. Like, I know people, they couldn't get up like for a whole day from the bed anymore. Like they had to go to what they call hospital. Like it's just like a clinic, but people stay there like in bed all day and don't go out. And I remember like this one time I was just okay, let me see what I can do. And I actually did 5 hours of yoga straight, and I felt good afterwards. And the only change I noticed was like I was coughing, mucus was coming, and I needed to sleep a little bit more. Besides that, I was just like after that morning practice, I was just like on fire. So this is not a recommendation for you to do 5 hours of yoga if you're sick. No, definitely not. Please don't do that. But it's just a sharing of my own experience. So the most important thing that I keep in mind when I am sick is to keep the heart rate on mind. I have a vision on my heart rate. So I neither want to achieve peak heart rates, and I also don't want to have high heart rates over an extended period of time. And I also don't want like the feeling that I'm like stressing my cardiovascular system, then get the blood pumping. And interestingly enough, like when I'm sick, and even when I do breathing techniques, where like it's not stress from the physical body, I notice that I'm sweating a lot. I'm getting really hot in the body, even just breathing in certain ways. I'm generating a lot of heat, and I'm sweating a lot. And actually the sweat stinks like a sick person. So I don't know, it might be just my imagination or not, doesn't really matter anyways. But to me it feels like the body is really sweating out the virus, or fighting, at least in fighting it by firing up the immunity system, whichever way you want to see it. So for me it works, and I suggest you just make up your own mind instead of just saying no when I'm sick, I'm gonna stay in bed all day long. No, you just see what you can do and what you can't do, and if any doubt, please consult a doctor, because this is not any medical advice. This is just a little sharing from my own little experience. So don't take anything for granted and just see what works for you. So that's it for me today. Hope you liked it, hope it's helpful for you. So if you like it, give me a thumbs up. I hope it's helpful for you. If you got any further questions, then just leave me a comment, send me a mail, and I talk to you soon. Bye bye.